G'day, it's Kris, and I'm going to help you decide if you should play Resident Evil 4 The Remake 2023 edition.
Oh, shit, yeah, dude! What good? Doggy!
And this is going to be probably not a long video. I want to try and keep it short and precise, but I got a lot I need to cover and talk about because Resident Evil 4 Remake is without a doubt a fantastic game. However, it has issues. The biggest issue it has is it's being compared to Resident Evil 4, which is legitimately one of the best games ever made. It also has a lot of problems, and this Resident Evil 4 Remake tends to try to fix a lot of these problems, but also wants to carve out its own personality as a video game, and it kinda detracts from what a lot of people loved about Resident Evil 4, even if it does remove a lot of the things people hated about Resident Evil 4. One being QTEs. Everyone universally hates QTEs across the board, and Resident Evil 4, the original game, had a bunch of them. Had you using QTEs to run away from rocks, had you using QTEs to activate items, had you using QTEs to do an entire boss fight, but these QTEs always had the same problem, which was it didn't really make you feel more engaged with the cutscene. If anything, it made you detract from the cutscene. And because you'll constantly have to stay alert, you have to actually be actively playing the game rather than just sitting back and enjoying. Resident Evil 4 Remake does have QTEs, but they are very lessened. There's a lot less of it, but where they are, you still feel their pain. The number one QTE that I always hate, and it's in a lot of video games, is the break free QTE, where a zombie or a creature grabs you from behind or in front, and then you have to break free, so you have to spam a button. I hate this QTE. I'd love it if it's just one button and it just breaks the hold, you know? Even if it still has the same length that would be if you were mashing it, just don't make me mash, because I will forget to mash and it just is annoying. That's why you see like a lot of accessibility options being just hold to mash, because it's way easier and way more engaging and way more fun than mashing. Now the reason why they do this in the Resident Evil 4 Remake is because some grabs you can break free by using your knife. Now this is where the biggest difference Resident Evil 4 Original and Resident Evil 4 Remake becomes, is your knife has durability, and as a lot of people know from playing Resident Evil 4 a lot, your knife is a vital part of your game strategy. You knock the zombie over, you then head towards the zombie and start slashing with his knife. But in Resident Evil 4 Remake, you don't want to do that with your knife because there's durability with your knife, and it just kinda ruins what's fun about the knife. However, to counter this issue, they've made the knife have a parry system, and a perfect parry system. This has a lot of depth. It means that literally every single attack in the game, you can do a perfect parry on. I say every single, most attacks in the game. There's a bunch I'll just go through anyway because the game's bullshit. And this parry system is good and bad. It's good because it means that you have a way to actively play with the game while instead of holding down spacebar and then slashing in the air to try and like knock projectiles out of the air. You just press spacebar as the projectile's going to hit you and you parry it with your knife. And you can do this with various attacks such as the tentacles from the monster. You can do it from axe swings coming down in front of you, crowbar swings, electrical stun batons, everything. You can parry the world pretty much. But the unfortunate thing is this means that your knife is no longer an offensive tool, it's more of a defensive tool, and you use it very defensively. Like I said before, you can use it to break out of certain grabs, and when you do this, you lose a lot of durability from your knife or your temporary knives that you pick up, which means you have to waste a lot of money repairing your knife, a lot of money maintaining your knife by like increasing durability, increasing the knife's damage. Instead of in Resident Evil 4 Original, your knife is perfect from the get-go, as it should be, because it's a knife that you brought from the United States and you've trained with it your whole life. You know it's trusty, you know it in and out perfectly. So of course it's going to be the best goddamn knife you ever brought. And quite frankly, wasting your hard-earned pesos on knife upgrades sucks. Especially when you want to upgrade, say, your Red 9 or your Striker or your stingray or your broken butterfly, you want to upgrade all these other weapons, but you're wasting it on repairing your knife. And then eventually you're going to get body armor, which is absolutely vital in every playthrough, and especially in hardcore, and your armor breaks and you don't have to spend 10,000 again to repair your armor, which breaks in one encounter pretty much every single time, and you're just chewing through your own money instead of using it on upgrading your weapons. Now this could have been just a very specific hardcore issue rather than the regular, but I'm sure it's going to be an issue on professional as well, which I haven't played yet admittedly, and it sucks because it means that you're constantly repairing your gear, constantly maintaining your gear, and instead of feeling happy that you're spending money to like get improvements to your gear, you're feeling devastated because you're spending money to bring your gear back to where it was before it got broken. And that sucks. About like halfway to, actually not halfway, 3/4 of the way through the game, actually even more than that, probably about 5/6 of the way through the game, you get your second knife from beating Kaiser, and then you have to fully upgrade that knife as well. And it's painful because you have to fully upgrade and waste so much money on these knives that could be going towards better guns, more ammo, more supplies, and you're wasting it on your knife, and it sucks. I know I've been talking about knife for a long time, but it's so important. One of the things that I have to say is I don't think Resident Evil 4 Remake is a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. I say these things and I critique this game because quite frankly I love this game and I wish it could be better, and I think modding this game could really improve on a lot of these bad aspects. For starters, injuring zombies. In Resident Evil 4, it's super easy to get a zombie into a stun state so that you can melee them. You shoot them once in the leg or once in the shoulder and once in the head, and they get into a stun state and you can just straight up hit them. Whereas in the Resident Evil Remake, it feels really hard to get them to a stun state. And at the harder difficulties, they're not really stunned for long enough considering how far away you need to be to actually shoot the zombie quickly and effectively. And then once you have 3 zombies close to you, it's really overwhelming and hard to escape from them because you don't have a fast backup ability, because all the other abilities like moving forward, left and right are very fast, but running away is not fast. And this becomes a huge problem in some of the boss fights, because you see a boss fight do an action and you try to respond to the action, but because of animation times and other things, you just can't respond quickly enough because the boss animations seem to be too quick. I noticed this especially annoying in the Kaiser fight and in the Salazar fight. Especially in the Salazar fight, because Salazar has this acid spit attack and has like 0 wind up while Salazar is like worming his way through the arena, and it's just annoying. Thankfully, you can buy 1 rocket launcher and delete 1 fight, and I chose to delete the Salazar fight. I think in the future I would probably choose to delete the Kaiser fight, because Kaiser also has some huge problems in this fight. Boss fights in Resident Evil Remake do not feel like a reward like they do in Resident Evil 4. In Resident Evil 4 Original, you want to get into a boss fight. Every time you enter a boss arena, you're ecstatic because you know you're going to have fun in this arena. You're going to be doing something that's fun and entertaining, and there's going to be a small puzzle element to it. The only like bad fight in the original Resident Evil 4 is probably the Chief Mendez fight. But even that fight is only bad because you're very low geared coming into that fight. The ultimate weapon boss fight is really shit because it's just like you shoot the ultimate weapon and the ultimate weapon dies. But at least that fight is cool and fun because it's like showing how far you've come since Chief Mendez. Because it's essentially Chief Mendez 2.0, but a lot more slug-like. Unfortunately, in Resident Evil Remake, there is no ultimate weapon fight. I don't know why this fight is missing from the campaign. I guess they decided it wasn't really worth fitting in. There's like huge changes to the story and the pacing in Resident Evil Remake. It seems to follow the storyline mostly and even beat for beat, like place to place. But it also avoids and changes the path a lot. Like instead of coming in from one entryway, you come in from a different entryway, and you very clearly see, oh, this is the place from this part of the game. Instead of in this place, you're in this place, and you're coming through it backwards, and it's all like very well designed to make you go, oh, but you know, like you understand how this should be, and you're feeling a little bit strange because it's now different from what you remember. This isn't a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. Someone coming into this fresh would go, oh yeah, this is fine, this is how it should be, you know? But, you know, because we've played Resident Evil 4, the non-remake version, we feel a little bit off about it. Like all of these changes just feel a little bit off, and when you like come down to it and you're like, if I'm gonna replay Resident Evil 4, do I want to play Resident Evil 4 or Resident Evil Remake? And normally, like for example in Resident Evil 2 Remake, I'll be, yeah, Resident Evil 2 Remake every time. Hands down, way better. But Resident Evil 4 Remake versus Resident Evil 4? It's a hard choice. I think I would probably just go with Resident Evil 4 instead of the remake. Because personally, I love the gameplay in Resident Evil 4 just more. I like being able to like knock a zombie over and then slice him with the knife to get him into a parry state, and I mean not parry state, a stun state, so that I can kick him or do a suplex. Like I did a total of 1 suplex in my entire playthrough, and it was cool, but I really felt like I was missing suplexes. Some of the zombies that have been improved are the shield zombies. They have a lot harder target to hit, which makes them more difficult to fight, but they still have the same way to get rid of their shield by using the shotgun. And when you get to the island, these shield zombies have iron shields, so you can't break them with the shotgun. But to counter that, instead of them being melee focused heroes, they're more range focused heroes. They're like hiding behind the shield, and they open the shield up and they throw the axe at you, and then they go back behind the shield, so they don't feel like they're harassing you like the chain shield zombies do. There's a lot of good stuff like with the zombie improvements, but when it comes down to it, if you can't stun the zombies like you can in Resident Evil 4, you just feel like you're limited in your options. Another of the big issues I have is in Resident Evil 4 Original, when you swap weapons, it's instant. You literally go into your inventory, you go, I want that weapon, and bam, you got that weapon. Whereas in Resident Evil Remake, you either select it with your numpad or your keybinds on keyboard, and it just takes a second. He has to put away his pistol, pull out the grenade, and then you can use it. Whereas in Resident Evil 4, you just, oh, I want the grenade, bam, grenade's in my hand, throw the grenade. So there's all these like delays in your timing, which makes it really annoying because you're like, I need this tool in this situation, and my character's fumbling around for it and not actually using it. And I think this would be really good in VR because this would just disappear, or it'd also be a part of the encounter because you're like, alright, I need a fumble for my grenade, okay, there it is, okay. But when you're playing with a mouse and keyboard or a controller, you want those weapons out instantly to respond to the situation instantly, and every single delay in response means, oh, I actually need this other weapon now because they're in this situation compared to the situation they were a half a second ago, because these situations, like, they change really fast in this game. Like I said, there's like a lot of story changes to this game, and some of the story changes are really good. Some of them, I kind of prefer it how it was in Resident Evil 4. And that's how it is for a lot of this game. Like, if you've played Resident Evil 4, play Resident Evil 4 Remake and you'll understand what I'm talking about exactly. But if you haven't played Resident Evil 4 and you're trying to decide if you should get the remake or just play the old game with the HD remaster on the PC, I would say if you don't absolutely need to play the remake this second, hold off for a sale. Even if it's like just 20% or $10 off and then get it then, that would probably be where I would buy Resident Evil 4 Remake. And if you were to just play Resident Evil 4 instead, you would not go wrong. Resident Evil 4 still holds up quite well today, and a lot of the QTE problems from Resident Evil 4 have been fixed in the Resident Evil 4 HD remaster mod. They get rid of a lot of the incredibly annoying mashing. It's still there, but you don't have to press it as much to get to success. They also just made the the controllers with mouse and keyboard feel way better. I guess it's kind of netcode really. And it's a lot of fun. It really is. I like Resident Evil 4 a lot. I made a 4-hour video about it, so I know a lot about it and I like it a lot. I like Resident Evil Remake a lot as well. I'm going to play more of it, a lot more of it, but I don't know if I like it more than the original. Whereas all the other Resident Evil remakes and Resident Evil 7 and Village, I like them better than Resident Evil 4 Remake. Because Resident Evil 4 Remake has to meet its expectations of Resident Evil 4. And it does in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it doesn't. Like, it is absolutely one of the best looking games I've ever seen. The way that they use the Quixel, like, imagery for the super high res like objects such as wall textures and ground textures and leaves and grass is fantastic. It all looks absolutely stunning compared to Resident Evil 4. But Resident Evil 4 came out in 2005. I think we can cut it a little bit of slack when it comes to the graphics department. If there was, God forbid if this could actually happen, this would be fucking awesome, a classic mode that could come out that just had your character stops moving when you aim, it brings back the laser sight, all the zombies get stunned and knocked down like way easier. That would be my dream, because the way it is right now, it's just that it's a little bit too fast for what made Resident Evil 4 great, because it was a very slow game, because it was designed around standing still, pulling your gun out, shooting the zombies, and then moving on with your life. Whereas in Resident Evil 4 Remake, it wants you to be actively participating. It wants you to be running around like it's Doom Eternal, doing trains with the zombies and having them all follow you, and then you're dropping grenades as you're running, and you're just like constantly going in a giant circle and then dealing with zombies in front of you as you have the train of zombies behind you. Because there's one section where, not really a spoiler, but Ashley is driving a, what do you call them, the giant wrecking balls. I don't know, just a wrecking ball machine, I guess. And she's slamming it into a wall, and while she's slamming into the wall, you have to protect her while protecting yourself as all these zombies chase you in this little battle arena. And essentially all you do is just run a giant circuit around the edge of the battle arena and try to kill as many zombies as you can. But it's not how Resident Evil 4 would have done it. Resident Evil 4 would have made you, alright, you want all these zombies to kind of be in front of you and they want to be sort of funneling towards you. Take out like 5 of them, and as they get close, alright, time to run away. And they funnel after you, and then take out another 5 and then move again, take out another 5. That's how it would have been in Resident Evil 4. Whereas in Resident Evil 4 Remake, it's like, oh shit, they're after me. Oh shit, what do I do? Okay, bang, I managed to shoot this one. Oh shit, I'm getting grabbed. Oh, stab with the knife. Oh god, what do I do? I need a grenade. Oh, it's taking forever for the grenade to come. Oh, I've been grabbed again. Oh no, I'm dead. Oh shit. That's like legitimately how it felt. Like, it felt just constantly harassed and frustrated because you couldn't respond to the situation quickly enough because of delays in the combat and everything else. That all being said, I really do recommend playing Resident Evil 4 Remake if you get the chance, if you can get at the price that suits you. Like I said, I think like 10-20% off, perfect price for this game to buy it, whatever that is in your currency. I like the game, I like the graphics, I like the changes from Resident Evil 4, even though I've complained ad nauseum about a lot of the changes not being great, like boss fights being worse, general combat not being as fun as original Resident Evil 4, but it's still a lot of fun, and there's a lot of great like updates to how they talk and the voice acting, and it's great. It doesn't feel as ham as I would want it, but Resident Evil 4 Remake Leon, he hams it up quite nicely. Not enough to my standard, but it is still a lot of ham. Hope you guys enjoyed. Check out Resident Evil 4 Remake. If you do, let me know how you thought of it in the comments below. Subscribe, all the rest. Good day, it's Kris. Goodbye.